Throughout the early going, defense held the upper hand. Neither Auburn nor Alabama could muster a first down in the game's first 4 possessions. With 7:56 left in the quarter, Alabama took over on its own 20. On 3rd and 8, the Crimson Tide attempted a rare pass. It was picked off by David Langer at the 35, giving Auburn great field position. The Tigers also stayed mostly on the ground. Senior tailback Terry Henley shouldered the load, carrying 5 straight times on this possession. The drive finally stalled at the Alabama 5. Gardner Jett came on to attempt a short field goal, but a bad snap ended Auburn's best threat of the quarter. Alabama finally got a drive going early in the second quarter. This was the era of the wishbone, and the Crimson Tide's was as good as anyone's. The Crimson Tide pounded away at the Auburn defensive front. On 3rd and 4 at the Auburn 20, Alabama took the inside handoff for nearly 9 yards and a key first down. Finally, on 3rd and goal from the 2, Alabama took it over right guard for the touchdown. But the extra point was not automatic. As if to foreshadow what was to come, Roger Mitchell blocked the kick, and Alabama led just 6-0. Auburn's offense continued to sputter throughout the quarter. Chris Linderman, Terry Henley, and James Owens just couldn't crack Alabama's solid defense. But the Crimson Tide offense fared little better against Auburn's defenders. Bill Newton, Ken Burnage, and Dave Beck led the charge. Late in the quarter, the Tigers forced Alabama to punt from its own 38. With just under 3 minutes left in the half, Auburn would have time for one more drive. David Langer's return set up the Tigers' 1st and 10 at their 26 with 2:41 left. But disaster struck on the very first play from scrimmage. With time at a premium, the Tigers elected to go to the air. Sophomore quarterback Randy Wall's pass was overthrown, right into the arms of an Alabama defender. He returned the interception 28 yards to the Auburn 13-yard line. An Alabama touchdown before the half would severely cripple Auburn's morale. But the Amazons would not go down easy. The defense held its ground on 3 straight plays, forcing the Crimson Tide to attempt a 24-yard field goal. It was good, but Auburn averted disaster and trailed just 9-0 at the half. Alabama kicked off to Auburn to begin the second half. Sophomore Mike Fuller, who would become one of the greatest return men in Auburn history, took the kickoff and returned it to the 28. The Tigers quickly discovered that Alabama's defensive front would be just as stingy as they had been in the first half. Auburn failed to get a first down and punted the ball to the Crimson Tide. Alabama took over on its own 22 after a 45-yard David Beverly kick. The Crimson Tide came out with a run, as expected. But after picking up one first down, they went to the air. A costly pass interference call moved the ball into Auburn territory. Two plays later, the pass hurt the Tigers again, as Alabama gained 16 yards to the 20. Now, with the goal line in sight, Alabama went back to its strength, power running. A 16-yard run took the ball to the 1. Alabama appeared to score one play later, but an illegal motion penalty took the ball back to the 6. The Tide was unaffected by the penalty and simply scored on a 6-yard run on the very next play. Alabama, after its best drive of the game, led 16-0.
We made some sort of a drive there in the fourth quarter and ended up down around the Auburn Alabama 32-yard line, and it became 4th down and 9. Well, we didn't have much passing attack. Our running attack, we had not gained a great deal of yardage that afternoon, so what the heck were we going to do? We couldn't throw and we couldn't run. So I called for Gardner Jett, little boy that weighed about 145 pounds. He had never kicked a field goal that long. I guess it was a shot in the dark. I remember calling Gardner over. I said, "This is a little out of your range, isn't it, Gardner?" And he said, "No, sir, I can kick it." Well, we made the decision to go for 3, and this is the only time in the history of the Auburn-Alabama series, to my knowledge, that both sides of Legion Field stood up and booed for entirely different reasons. The Auburn crowd stood up and booed because they felt like perhaps we had quit. We felt we couldn't win the ball game. The Alabama side stood up and booed because if we kicked it, that blew the line, so to speak, which was 14 points, and that would have cut it to 3.
Brilliant coaching.
It was a strange circumstance, I guess, if you were sitting in the stands wondering, what is this man doing kicking a field goal?
Truth is often stranger than fiction.
But as it turned out, it worked out perfectly. So let's go back now to the one of the most improbable and one of the greatest comebacks in college football in the final few minutes of a football game.
Mitchell and Langner on the line of scrimmage coming from either side to try to block the kick. Auburn trying to go after it. Here's a snap. They got it. Block kick. Ball's back to the 25. Picked up on the bounce at the 25-yard line. And in for a touchdown is David Langner.
One blocked kick was incredible. Who would have ever thought the Amazons would do it twice?
On the far right, Roger Mitchell on the left, and Auburn is again going after the kick, as you might imagine. Greg Gant standing on his own 30. Auburn will try to block it. Auburn going after it. Here's a good snap. It is blocked! It is blocked! It's caught on a run! It's caught on a run! He's going to score! David Langner! David Langner has scored! And Auburn has tied the game! Roger Mitchell blocked the kick!
The extra point was good. The Tigers led 17-16 and held on to win one of the most amazing games in Auburn history.
Let's take a quick look at the statistics of that game, which will show how meaningless statistics can be. Look at the disparity in Auburn's offenses compared to Alabama's. And yet the final score was one that will always be remembered.